When someone wants to insult a Norland-era Les Paul, usually the first thing they go for is the fact that they have a three-piece top. Newsflash, there's even 50s Les Pauls that were crafted that way. They're usually just covered in a very nice, luxurious, solid-colored finish. Sometimes, like on this gold top that was converted to burst specs, it just has an off-center seam line. There's actually been a sudden surge in people looking specifically for three-piece top Les Pauls due to its affiliation with Jessica, a very famous guitar that Slash uses. Gibson wouldn't make a stock three-piece top in today's era if there wasn't a demand for it. But did you know you can potentially find up to 7-piece tops in this era? It's like wooden paneling at that point. I've never been able to tell if this one's a 5er or a 7er because there might be another one hidden right here in our cherry. But personally, I've always kind of liked it in a weird, quirky way. Like, I wouldn't want that for my only one, but in a collection, it's just kind of hilarious. But my friends, brace yourselves for what Chicago Music Exchange's vault listed. And you said you couldn't love a 4-piece top. Holy cow. That thing is just fantastic. It had to have been an employee custom order or something special because not only do all 4 pieces have very, very nice flame, and it's not like tight pinstripey stuff either, it's nice and wide, but they actually match up pretty decently at the seam lines. In case you can't see it, there's one right here, another one almost directly in the center, maybe a little bit off, but it's not too bad, and then another one over here. Lots of times, cherry sunburst finishes get a little bit too clowny. This one is that perfect, nice ambered hue. When I saw this, I instantly had to click because it's like, whoa, they're claiming it's a 1971 even. And to even just find a 71 out in the wild is getting rare because they just didn't make as many of those as they did in 1974 and 75 and onwards. It would make a beautiful addition into my collection with this crazily figured, rare, off-center 2-piece top of a 1974 Les Paul Custom. That's one of those guitars I just shake my head in amazement every time. One more has surfaced very similar to this, so we know that there were at least 2, but further dissecting it to know condition and everything, it's got a Gen 3 chainsaw case, one of the good versions. It still has the lid ribbon. I was really happy to see that they had this in here because the best way to date a guitar is by your pot codes. And here it reads 1969, the 27th week. I mean, that solder joint looks good to me. Well, come on up here. That one also matches to 69. Solder looks decent, but okay. So this one says 1970, the 22nd week. However, I mean, you could make the argument that solder does look maybe ever so slightly disturbed. Go either way. And then in this particular photo, I can't read anything. Usually, to be safe, you want to use the newest pot code because that says that's the newest the guitar could be if everything is stock. But something that caught my eye is usually you'll see larger capacitors in here, like this particular 71 has the black spray caps. I would want to pull up a few more examples because it's possible at least that one has been replaced. Like, I'd be curious if this pot code matches those. So next thing we would want to do, check out the pickups. All right, patent number T-tops. We got the slotted screws, so yep, that's good. Come on up here. We lost our water slide decal, but everything else is looking fine. You can see our transitional neck tenon. And now we want to look at other specs. Like back here, we've got a pretty big honking volute. You gotta remember, the volute was first introduced in 1969, and generally they're pretty small. So I agree with Chicago Music Exchange. It was probably made in the late 1970, early 71, based on what I can see here, because we also have the Made in USA stamp. Not all of them had the Grover tuners. That's actually a really nice spec on these. But as far as our knobs, those are correct for the early 70s. We've got an original ABR1 style bridge, so that's also nice. But if you're wondering why we're talking about it instead of reviewing it, it's been refretted. As a picky collector, that always makes me go, man, but as the saying goes, find another. I can also see from these photos, it's got strap locks on it. And at this point, when you have this much buckle rash on the back, I mean, does a refret really even matter? No, it probably just says this guitar plays phenomenally. And it's got all the right stuff up here too, consisting of a bone nut. This particular style of truss rod cover, that's a mighty fine piece, but I know what you're thinking. How much is it? It was listed for $8,000. It didn't even last a day and it's gone. If you're trying to price compare it to other 71s, the problem is, as I told you earlier, half of these that they're claiming are 71s might not actually be 71 by pot code, but say a 73 to 75, anywhere between 4.5 to 8,000 is totally fair. But being slightly earlier than that with that kind of a top, I think they had it priced appropriately, and that's why the market struck. The only thing that made me sad about this is, despite how beautiful the seam line and all the figuring is, they're saying it's slightly separating, and in the grand scheme of things, does it matter? No. It matters more when it's a solid finish and you just see this big ugly line running up, but hey, it's transparent and beautiful already. I just love the way that it pulls off the look of a 3-piece top, but it's really 4, and you do not see 4-piecers very often. It's usually 1, 3, 5, 7, not the in-betweens. But before we continue our guitar fun, we need to have a word from our sponsor tonight, Sweetwater. They've got their Santa hat on. You know what that means. They've got a whole bunch of sales stuff going on. From strings to guitars to studio speakers. You can utilize my affiliate links in the description to let them know that I sent you, and keep in mind they've got a whole bunch of nice open box units if you're looking for a deal. Because look at this SG, it's got a very interesting hue to it. Normally these are a little bit brighter green, but that mahogany definitely has a little bit more yellow poking through. And that's my favorite thing about Sweetwater. They tell you the serial number, they tell you the weight, they show you photos of each. That's the power of shopping with Sweetwater. I saw this listed on Reverb, and the thumbnail in my feed looked like this. I was like, oh, what's going on here? So really far away photo. We've got like some blue painter's tape, but this is some sort of a studio light. I still need to review that model. They've got the ebony fretboard, but they have a chromite body. But then the next photo had this, and I was like, what? Was not expecting that. To Mike, keep picking. Les Paul. Seemed he might have been a little crazy that day because the P is going after the A and before the U, but I just thought the wood grain looked absolutely fantastic. It looks like we've got a Gen 3 chainsaw case over here. He's even got a nice photo of himself with Les. I like his jacket that he's wearing there. And then he's trying to do his best. He shows that he worn through the edge. It's got nicks and dings. Probably had some sort of a synth pickup on it, would be my guess, having wear right there. It was just taped to the top. It looks complete player's grade. Maybe not in the best of condition. Not something for my collection, but to document, I thought it could be fun. So I made an offer on it. And then he messaged me saying, I just put the ad up. I'm just trying to pay rent. I'm going to get evicted next week if I don't. If nothing else happens, I'll come back for your offer. And at that point, I just went, oh man, I feel bad for you. I'm not necessarily interested in the guitar at his price, but I told him how to get that price because I still think it's a good deal. So I did a little bit of coaching to help him use Reverb better. And unfortunately, he lost the chainsaw case, but he still has this one he's going to include with it. So let's just say if your name is Mike, which let's face it, that's a very common name, you need to pick yourself up a personally signed to you Les Paul for $1,000. He's also got this ESP. I think when he first listed it was $1,200. Now it's down to $688. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad deal. I think we've had something similar on the show before. It looks like a nice guitar. Next up, for a brief moment yesterday, there was a Playmate of the Year Les Paul listed for $5,500. I kind of want to document one of these just because I think the pink sparkle finish is awesome. Not necessarily because of the ties of the Playmate of the Year or the company that this was done for, but I think it would just be a funny Easter episode one day, although maybe slightly inappropriate. I'm not sure, but it's a unique promo guitar with some unique features, such as the bunny dot inlays, the bunny poker chip. Your headstock is rhinestoned with a bunny there. And check this out, single banded binding, but it looks like they gave it the 70s Norland era boat paddle headstock, even though this is like 2000s era. And looking closely, that actually appears to be pearl. I could be wrong on that, but on a lot of these promo guitars, it was just cheap acrylic stuff with the whole name plastered on it. But these ones were actually sold. It's not the giveaway promos. There is a market for these. Now, what is that market? I usually see people asking between $7,000 and $12,000 plus. So $5,500, I was like, that might be a strike zone. And then I got to the back. What is this? Lingerie print in the back? I could probably live with that, but it was the neck that made me go, oh, yeah. That would be why. If you're curious what caused that, I do believe it's the case. That's the two neck rests, and that's where it rests against the back of the case. And then here is where the guitar rested at the bottom. Some cases will do that. As the design you're seeing here is the crushed velvet interior. Is that all cases? No. Is it possible that that case got wet and that's how that happened, or they spilled alcohol? Various things can cause something like that. Sometimes it's just a bad batch of cases. If you're now terrified of your cased collection, you shouldn't have to worry about it. But if you remember the Gibson diaper that we talked about in that short, technically that is one thing you could do to prevent it. Because I mean, look, we even have that all along the edge here. That's crazy. It's a shame because I like the pastel pink that the backside of these are. But from a display standpoint, it doesn't really matter. Next up, we've got one from the Music Zoo, a British racing green. Custom shop made to measure Les Paul Custom. Although, look, no pick guard, no neck pickup. We don't even have a toggle switch because we don't need it anymore. They didn't quite go as far as only having one knob. Sometimes they do, but it even has an ABR1 bridge with chrome hardware. Gibson has been going crazy with the British racing green lately, and I like it. However, this one, they decided to go a natural back with a stinger. Usually I'm a big fan of stingers. I don't know about that particular one. There's too much natural on the back. I think a black would have looked better to complement like the backside of this headstock. Now, if we had some green on the back of the body or something, maybe then it could work. But that was definitely a unique flavor on the one pickup Les Paul Custom. But man, check that side profile shot out. That is gorgeous. Put a Santa hat on and you are in the clear. Confirmed good list behavior. And cool, pair it with your orange yellowish case over here. Here was another great deal, a Custom Shop Elegant 2 5A quilted, $3,700. Yeah. That's a nice top. Although, do you consider it a quilt or a flame? Technically, in this area, it's got the quilt characteristics where it swoops in rather than a lined flame. So, yes, this is a quilt, but it has the more straight characteristics of flame. So it's like the best of both worlds. But oh my goodness. I thought that was like a weird knot in the wood, but it looks like a wore through area of the finish. I wonder if I'm seeing that right. Because at the same time, you can almost see something like that over here, but I suppose that could be another area of wear. This leaves me conflicted because that looks like grain in this shot, but I could still go either way there. If it is just in the wood though, that's rather interesting. It's like a built-in relicking job before they made that mass production. But being an elegant, that means it's chambered and it also has the compound ebony fretboard with the abalone inlays as we're seeing here. Gorgeous natural back, really helps that blue top pop. Serial number dates that. Wow, that's a pretty late elegant, 2004. Somebody's upgraded it to Lock and Grover tuners. But most times when you have this trans ebony / purple finish, it just gets so dark. And maybe these are selective photos to make it look the best as possible, or it could have faded a bit. That just looked like a primo example to me, and yeah, I think it really is just in the wood grain. The 90s, early 2000s history of Gibson's just a lot of fun. Well, now I'm not sure because it does say it has play wear and minor dings. But then again, in my own photos, they're really not that good, especially when you go for acoustic guitars, because I could see how somebody might think, oh man, there's these huge scratches on the guitar. Why would anybody buy from this guy? Because it's like, in this photo too. Nah, it's just reflections over there. My problem is, it takes me a good 8 hours plus to make the video. At the end of the day, I feel like the photos are just redundant. You can watch the video at that point to make informed decisions. So maybe that's a little bit of laziness on my part. But at the same time, I'm not being lazy because I do way more in the production to make sure you can make an informed decision whether the guitar I'm selling is right for you or not. Because like this thing, you can only see that at very select viewing angles. But the worst thing in the world is buying a guitar and being disappointed as soon as you open the case. I try to fight that as much as humanly possible. And with that, my friends, I will leave you. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to visit our sponsor, Sweetwater. They might have something you need to make your stocking a little bit more stuffed. Yeah, we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Take care.